Hidizs has just released their new MK12 Turris IEMs. I'm actually a few days late since unfortunately I was sick during the launch period, but I'm here now. They will officially launch on their store for around $200 a bit later on, but right now they're offering it at an early bird price of $130, and I'll talk about that at the end because it's a little bit different on how they're going about this. So the MK12 Turris is a single dynamic driver IEM made with a large metal shell and interchangeable nozzles to adjust the sound signature. One of the biggest selling points that they highlight on their page is that it uses a 12mm dynamic driver with a magnesium M-shaped dome diaphragm. They're really pushing for the importance of driver material and design as a standout feature. For myself, I usually prefer when manufacturers talk about focusing on the tuning rather than on the driver type and materials, but we'll see how it holds up when we talk about the sound. First of all, let's just look at the build and accessories. The MK12 comes with 3 different sets of ear tips. They do say that the different ear tip designs are there to change the sound slightly, and with my own measurements, most of the changes between the ear tips were just slight tweaks in the upper treble frequencies. But in real world use, the differences between the tips will likely come more from how it fits in your ear and the type of seal that you get, rather than preset tuning choices based on the nozzle shape and size. How the ear tip fits and seals in your ear will have a big effect on how the IEM sounds overall. So in that sense, having multiple options and a variety of different types of tips is a nice thing to have so you can find something that suits you the best. They also sent their sea anemone ear tips, which have a little bit more of a square-shaped profile to them, and I actually found that these fit the best in my ear and made the IEMs very comfortable for me to wear for long periods of time. The IEM shells themselves are made from CNC metal and they're quite large. They're bulky and they end up sticking out of my ear a lot when I wear them, which does end up holding a bit of the weight of the IEM a bit further out of my ear than I would like, but it still seems to fit securely. Luckily, even though the actual shell of these IEMs are large, the nozzles themselves are quite small. So despite their overall size, I found the IEMs to be comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and I even at times ended up noticing them less in my ear than some smaller IEMs or lighter IEMs just because of the smaller shape of the nozzles and how they fit in my ear. Now, as far as a case, it comes with a small pouch to hold the IEMs in, which is fine. It's just a small pouch with sort of like a snap top, and it's small enough that you're able to put it in your pocket and it makes it kind of easy to carry with you. But that said, at this price point, I would also like to see a hard case included as well. Having a pouch is fine, but it is similar to a lot of the cases that we'll see on ultra budget IEMs. And part of the experience when you buy a premium product is also having accessories that feel like they match the quality of the product that you're getting. Unfortunately, that's also kind of where I'm at with the cable as well. The cable's fine, it works, there's nothing wrong with it. And even in terms of like cable feel, it doesn't feel cheap. It's just in real world use, I'm not a fan of the cable. It's a thin wire cable with a soft rubber coating on the outside, and it's not really prone to having cable noise from rubbing on your clothes. But the cable itself is just very springy and tangles easily if you put it in your pocket or in the pouch. I found that when using the cable, it never really wanted to fully straighten out and it always want to go back to its old shape. As well, the ear hooks weren't really formed at the best angle for me. The part of the cable that hooks around your ear was a bit too small, but then also angled out to the side. So the cable never wanted to lay behind my ear. Instead, it would always come out towards the side of my ear and then start pulling on the side of my IEM. So overall, the cable itself isn't really bad. It's just I wish that it was a little bit less springy and would stay where you want it to when you put it there. But overall, I do like the build quality of the IEMs themselves. They are comfortable to wear, especially when you find the right tips that fit you. And even though they are a bit heavier and the weight is carried a little bit more outside, it's not to a point where I found it felt distracting or like they were unstable. But the important part is how they sound, and all in all, I like them. Even though they aren't my tuning preference, I did enjoy listening to them and had no glaring issues. Normally, I prefer a bit less mid-bass and ear gain, and these are tuned a bit more similar to some of the older, more typical single dynamic driver IEMs that we would see a lot, with a mid-bass emphasis and extra treble to balance that out. These do still have a few of those characteristics, but it just ends up sounding like a more refined IEM. Often I'll find IEMs with this sort of tuning sound shouty and a bit shrill to my ear, but these instead just sound warm and even have a decent set of detail and separation. The extra warmth does make them feel a little bit more closed in, but overall, I was able to listen to them for hours and really just enjoy my music. And for me, one of the most important parts of an IEM is when it's just something that you can listen to for a period of time and you kind of just forget about them. Being able to listen to your music for periods of time without anything really distracting you from it is a good IEM in my books. They do come with 2 different sets of nozzles, and to be honest, I think that they could have just gone without them, and this would have still been a good product. The silver nozzle has less damping, so the IEM has a bit more emphasis in the treble and peaks in the ear gain. So for me, the silver tips just kind of bring the IEMs past the point of comfortable listening for me, and certain instruments start to sound a bit harsh on certain songs. Otherwise, they're quite similar sounding to the gold tips, but I just feel like it's a worse version of them. The red nozzles have a bit more damping in them, which reduces the ear gain and treble a lot, but it also increases the low end bass. And I just wasn't really a fan of the red nozzles, as now the IEM ends up sounding too dark to balance out the extra bass that it gets. It ends up sounding muddy and dull, and with the red tips, I just found myself wanting to hear the small details that I knew were in the music, but I just couldn't quite deliver with these tips. With the default gold nozzle, and with the sea anemone tips, although the balance ear tips were good too, I found that the MK12 to be an enjoyable IEM that was comfortable to wear for long sessions after changing the cable to something that was less springy. I like them more than some other IEMs that cost 2 or 3 times as much. That said, there are other IEMs that cost the same or less that are tuned more in line with my preference, and I prefer those. So at this point, it seems like it's a good IEM and actually a really good option if you want that specific sort of tuning, with a bit more mid bass but not sounding super muddy and still offering a sense of detail. Now, the normal cost will be $200 on the Hidize website or other sites that it's sold on, but they're also selling it at a discount for $130 on their Kickstarter as a super early price. I'm kind of late in publishing this video, and their Kickstarter sales limited to a few hundred units, so most of them may have been sold already. And if this is something that you want, there is probably a chance to still get this cheaper on Kickstarter. Otherwise, it'll be back to $200, and at that price point, there is a lot of competition. So yeah, thanks for watching. It's been a while, but hopefully I'll be back to uploading more videos again more often. I hope to see you in the next one.